019 The Serpent and William Branham. When researching William Branham, one phrase always appears: the Serpent Seed Doctrine. It is definitely easier now with AI to see that William Branham did not make up the Serpent Seed Doctrine. It basically says that the serpent seduced Adam's wife, which produced Cain. When Adam took her to himself and repeated the event, his child was Abel. Scientifically, a woman can become pregnant by two different men at around the same time. It's called superfecundation. Superfecundation happens when a woman releases more than one egg during her menstrual cycle, and each egg is fertilized by sperm from separate acts of intercourse with different men. Since it involves fertilization by different fathers, the resulting children would be fraternal, non-identical twins or multiples. Guy. With a quick question to AI, this is the answer about the history of the Serpent Seed Doctrine. The Serpent Seed Doctrine, also known as the dual seed or two-seed line doctrine, is a controversial and fringe religious belief within Christianity. It posits that the biblical account of the fall of man involved the serpent, often identified with Satan, mating with Eve in the Garden of Eden, and that Cain was the offspring of this union. Here's a breakdown of its history. Early teachings. Gnostic texts. Some of the earliest expressions of ideas similar to the Serpent Seed Doctrine can be found in Gnostic texts from the early centuries of Christianity. For instance, the Gospel of Philip c. 350 AD suggests Eve mated with the serpent or Satan and produced Cain. The Apocryphon of John c. 180 AD, authored by the Sethians, contains a similar account. Valentinus, 2nd century AD, this early Gnostic teacher promoted a doctrine where Eve's union with the serpent, seen as a manifestation of the Aeon Sophia, resulted in Cain's birth. Opposition from early church fathers. Irenaeus, a prominent church father of the 2nd century, explicitly denounced these teachings as heresy in his work Against Heresies, refuting Valentinus' ideas. Medieval folk traditions. A later, less theological version of the concept appeared in European Christianity during the Middle Ages, where legendary monsters like Grendel were sometimes ascribed to Cain's ancestry. Targum Pseudo-Jonathan. This Aramaic translation and commentary on the Torah contains passages that allude to the serpent's seed concept. Revival and modern forms. 19th century. The Serpent Seed Doctrine experienced a revival in the 19th century, particularly within the context of British Israelism in America. Figures like C.A.L. Totten, 1851-1908, and Russell Kelso Carter, 1849-1928, played a role in developing modern versions of the doctrine. Daniel Parker, 1781-1844, this primitive Baptist minister is also noted for reviving and promoting the doctrine within his movement. 20th century. The doctrine gained further traction and evolved into various forms through the teachings of influential figures such as William M. Branham, 1909-1965, a key figure in the Pentecostal and Charismatic movements. Branham popularized his version of the Serpent Seed Doctrine. Arnold Murray, 1929-2014, founder of the Shepherd's Chapel, Murray was a prominent proponent of the two-seed line doctrine. Wesley A. Swift, 1913-1970, a leader in the Christian identity movement, Swift incorporated the Serpent Seed Doctrine into his racist and anti-Semitic theology. Sun Myung Moon, 1920-2012, founder of the Unification Church, Moon also presented his unique interpretation of the doctrine. Core beliefs. The central tenet of the Serpent Seed Doctrine is the belief that Cain was the literal offspring of Eve and the serpent. This belief often leads to several other interpretations. Two seed lines. Humanity is divided into two distinct seeds, or lineages, the righteous descendants of Adam, through Abel and Seth, and the wicked descendants of the serpent, through Cain. Nature of sin. The original sin is often interpreted not merely as disobedience but as a sexual act between Eve and the serpent. Identification of the serpent's seed. Adherents often identify specific groups as the descendants of Cain, frequently leading to anti-Semitic and racist ideologies, where Jewish people or non-white races are claimed to be the serpent's seed. Predestination. Some versions suggest that the serpent's descendants are inherently evil and predestined for damnation, sometimes claiming they lack a soul. It's crucial to understand that the Serpent Seed Doctrine is considered a fringe belief and is rejected by mainstream Christian denominations due to its lack of biblical support and its history of being used to promote harmful ideologies like racism and anti-Semitism. Mainstream Christian theology interprets the seed mentioned in Genesis 3:15 metaphorically, referring to the ongoing conflict between good and evil and the eventual triumph of Christ. Guy. Naturally, many false versions of this were made. One says that the black race of humans are the Cain lineage. This foolishness was beneficial for political and financial reasons. Some people still believe it. William Branham said the lineages all mixed after Noah's Ark, so we all have it all. He said that the sons of God seeing the daughters of men were the men from the Seth line and the women from the Cain line. They were not supposed to mix. When looking at the first lineages in the Bible, the Seth side were always the simple ones. The Cain side were the brilliant geniuses. Very similar to Jesus being simple, and Lucifer being brilliant. Interesting that people will spend millions making and going to Beauty and the Beast shows, but scowl at Eve and the serpent. So whether it is believed or not is up to each person. William Branham's joke on this issue was, if eating apples caused the women to realize they were naked, we had better pass the apples again. 1965042-9E. Just a note. Adam-Eve realized they were naked. After the act, Adam named his wife Eve, mother of all living. Adam covered their loins only, his understanding of nakedness. God asked, "Who told you that you were naked?" God then clarified nakedness and covered them in tunics, not just a loin cloth via tree leaves. Eve's punishment was pain in childbirth, her loins. Later God would start circumcision, ouch, for men and males. That is a lot of loin talk over an apple. So the serpent seducing Eve is not an insane imagination of William Branham. He simply said that it is true. JLE. Note. Is it a salvation doctrine? No. Does it give lots of insight to those that accept it? Yes. Adam was created straight from God. The last Adam, Jesus, was created straight from God. The rest of us weren't. If we are all a mix of Adam and the serpent, then we are hybrids when compared to Adam and Jesus. We are the walking trees of good and evil. Thus, God has made us new bodies. This is a history lesson. The reader will have to let the ministers expound with all the scriptures that possibly broadens the understanding. 1. Notes from Jewish sources. Hebrew word used as subtle. Also means naked. Look at other uses. In the story of Adam, Eve and the snake, the word is used in two completely different contexts, yet they feature one pasuk after the other. Bereshit 2:25. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Bereshit 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Naked and subtle are the same Hebrew word. Absolutely. Immediately after the Torah describes Adam and Eve as being naked, the Torah uses the exact same Hebrew term to describe the snake. It just so happens that Aram can mean not just naked, but cunning, too. But it hardly seems a coincidence the Torah picked this particular word to describe the snake's devious intentions. Part 5. The sages of the Midrash were puzzled, as we were, with the missing motivation of the serpent. What drives him? Their answer is shocking. They say that the snake was on an assassination mission. The snake, knowing that the forbidden fruit harbored the promise of death, hoped that Eve would pass the fruit to Adam before partaking herself. Why? Because according to the Midrash, the snake wanted to assassinate Adam and marry Eve. The temptation of loneliness is to seek solace where it ought not be sought. For Adam, perhaps, this would mean seeking companionship among the animals. Pretending, if only he could, that he is one of them. The primal serpent walks, he talks, and he's clever, so in what sense is he really a snake and not a human? Why couldn't he be a fitting mate for mankind, after all? Part 6. Part 7. The forbidden tree is known in Hebrew as the Etz Hadaz Tav Vara. Let's ask ourselves what these Hebrew terms really mean. The conventional translation of the phrase is, knowledge of good and evil. Is there anything more here than meets the eye? What is real knowledge made of? Let's start with the first phrase, conventionally translated as, knowledge. Interestingly, the meaning of this word is not limited to knowledge, in the conventional sense of the word. Indeed, one of the first times the root is used in the book of Genesis, it conveys an experience that, at first blush, few of us would call knowledge at all. Vahadam yada es chava isto. And the man knew his wife. In the Bible, the word doubles as a synonym for sexual intimacy. The Torah's use of this word for both knowledge and sexual union is probably significant. Part 8. Part 9. After attaining this knowledge, Adam and Eve do not become aware of a whole new realm of moral dilemmas. Instead, they realize they are naked. Why? Are those punishments really as random as they seem? And, given the nature of the tree as we've begun to see it, why might fear of nakedness be exactly the response one might expect from a being who suddenly wakes to find himself inhabiting a radically new world of good and evil? Part 10. Before he ate from the tree, Adam was well aware that he was naked, he just wasn't afraid of it. Sexuality, in the old world, had been just a natural part of life. Why bother with clothes? Now, though, things felt different. Sexuality, the biological manifestation of our drive to create, was stronger, more overwhelming, now. Nakedness, direct, unfiltered confrontation with our own sexuality, is now a source of fear. After Adam and Eve eat from the tree, God imposes upon them what seems to be a grab bag of punishments. Death, pain in childbirth, difficulty farming, the snake crawls on his belly and eats dust. But are these punishments really as random as they seem? Part 11.